Hello, my name's Dan Sams, author of the Neil Miller's World of Power series, and today I'm going to be answering some questions on how I created the book and what inspirations I had regarding it and things like that, if you guys are generally interested. So let's proceed. So, shall we begin?
We shall begin. So,
this is Spencer, by the way, who's going to be doing the interview questions for today.
Okay, let's start off with the very start, shall we? What were your inspirations and what inspired you to write, and why did you start writing this book?
Generally speaking, comic books. I've been a massive fan of comic books for as long as I can remember. Marvel, DC, I was the kid who would take Spider-Man and Batman action figures to school for show and tell, and the characters have just spoken to me throughout my entire life. Superheroes in generally get you through so many things in your life. You look at Peter Parker, nerdy teenage kid, and he puts on that mask and becomes an awesome, wisecracking guy you can really look up to. So yeah, I would definitely say that is the biggest inspiration. There are a few more things I've read later on in life that have inspired storytelling wise, but the core of the book is the superheroes.
Right. Well, as you know, and probably a fair few people nowadays because of the films, there's two distinct universes, Marvel and DC. So what universe maybe particularly inspired you a bit more? Do you draw from one more than the other?
I'll say right now, I draw from both equally. Marvel, DC, they are both as good as each other. They can spend their entire years in their careers, trying to outdo each other. But especially with the films, we just had Avengers, Man of Steel. Both of these films have knocked superhero movies out of the park. They're gods in their world, and these guys, they know how to use their characters. Stan Lee, Bob Kane, both fantastic creators. They knew what they were doing in those early days, and it still stands true today.
True, and hopefully with them competing it means we'll get more great stuff in the future. Okay, moving forward once again. Your book, of course, each person has a specific superpower. I haven't read throughout the whole thing yet. I'm still waiting for the next section, as avid as everyone else. So, if you could choose one of your powers, which one could you have, and what would it be, considering that we don't know which ones might be in the future?
That's a good question. Definitely, throughout all of my characters, I would have to pick James Knight, the Night Outlaw's powers. For many who know me, he was my favourite character to write for, and especially with his ability, the whole shadow manipulation, shadow forming, moving in and amongst the shadows. You could just imagine that as being sort of really quite a serene thing to do, to be able to, I'm quite a darkly dressed person at the best of times anyway, so I think I could blend quite well into shadows, and the ability to manifest things from the ground as well. I think that would be really cool.
Dare I say, was it a tip of the hat to the old Dark Knight, dare I ask?
What, Night Outlaw?
Dark Knight.
Well, obviously his surname being Knight. Well, it's the phrase knight in general means for good. Knights the Round Table, knights in shining armour. The fact that he's not a goody two-shoes style character, I thought that really riffed on the name. And of course, no spoilers hopefully, but when you meet his sister later on, what that family was once like, and the Knight name was once their true sort of, they were good people. And just a little heads up as well, you may be hearing about their parents later on, so you'll learn a bit more about the Knight.
That's very interesting. Not even I've heard of that. No, I'm intrigued. I'm generally intrigued.
What's
that? Okay, so we've quickly at the very beginning. We've drawn upon your very source of your inspiration, comic books. So let's go to the other side of the very beginning.
Yeah.
What inspired you to start writing? We know what you're writing about.
Yeah.
So what kicked it off?
Basically, I'd just finished reading Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, one of my most favourite authors of all time. Massive inspiration to me. And I'd finished the book, and I just got into the mindset of thinking, you know, I could do this, I could give this a go, you know. I'd had so many ideas in my head throughout most of my life, you know, stories that had come in and out. And when I was a little kid, I used to draw little comic strips and things like that. And I just so wanted to do a full novel. I've got a phone ringing here.
Sorry about that.
We'll pause for 1 second.
Oh, that's why you turn off phones in cinema.
Technology, yeah, right. So yeah, where was I?
Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman. Yeah, the guy who gave that quote right there, "Make good art." This is the quote that shows, you know, the point he is trying to get across when you're doing anything creative. Make it for yourself, you know. And so, you know, after reading Neverwhere and many other of his books, it was a case of just, yeah, do this, make my own art, make the stories in my head into a reality, get them all down. And the first major one that popped in my head, I have many stories come and go, but the main one that stuck was the Neil Miller story. And of course, for those who know me, the inspiration behind Neil Miller's name, of course, stems from Neil Gaiman and my second favourite writer, who many comic fans will know, Mark Millar. And we'll get to him a little bit later. So yeah, between Neil Gaiman, Mark Millar, and many fantastic stories I've read, they were the ones that made me think, right, I want to get in on this. I want to write. I want to get these stories out of my head and put them on paper and make good art.
Okay, drawing upon the previous question, obviously, first off, what other authors except Neil Gaiman inspired you? And do you feel thankful that you're in a particular boom time of superheroes?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a great market to get into right now.
It so is. I've mentioned Mark Millar,
Yeah.
other comic writers, Jeff Jones, Brian Michael Bendis, JMS, Joe Quesada, you know, all these guys, Alan Moore, I can't forget Alan Moore, James O'Barr, all these guys, Frank Miller, all these guys are doing so many good stories in the comics world in the last, well, 10 to 20 years. You know, there's been so many good stories to have come out of comics that they're not a child's media, not they ever were, but they are even more so now, you know, with Alan Moore's Watchmen, with Mark Millar's Kick-Ass, Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. You know, all these stories are showing how serious and adult and groundbreaking comics can be. So all these guys that I've just come across and read throughout the years have just made me realise that, wow, you know, these kind of stories are going to be around for a very long time, you know, as are comics. Comics are not going to go away anytime soon. So yeah, fantastic writers, all of them.
Well, talking about the whole sort of boom time area, friends and family will know you've been slogging over this for a while, it's been in the works. How long for?
Well, that's an understatement. It's been about 3 to 4 years now.
Farewell.
Estimately, yeah. I mean, when I started this, it was a rough idea. I had one sheet of paper, and I literally wrote down some names on it. I think I wrote down Neil Miller's name. I think I wrote down James Knight's name, and I think I wrote down Roger Captain McLeod's name. And then I think I sort of set out a slight sort of basis of a story, you know, sort of like basically outlining young boy gets sent to a world where, you know, everybody has a superpowered ability, and then I sat down and focused, right, I thought, right, how did he get there? What's going on there? Who's the big bad? Why is there a big bad? What's he planning to do? What are these guys doing? And just fleshed out the story. That took a good couple of months, and then I really started to write the first initial draft, which was all handwritten. And I will get the handwritten books that I've got upstairs, and I'll show you on the camera there.
Yeah.
Show you how much work this hand had to do in order to get the original rough draft finished. You know, then of course it was typing up, and then a few failed attempts to get it to publishers and agents, and then, you know, leading up to now where I just gave up with them and went.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, so the very first thing you started off with was a blank piece of paper and
Just some names, yeah.
How did you come up with those names? And then how did you come up with names in the future?
Well, as I explained for Neil and Mark Miller, a lot of different changes. But Captain McLeod wasn't initially called Captain McLeod.
Yeah.
At one point he was. You remember
I
that?
remember.
I don't know why, but it was deemed a bit silly. I'm not even sure why I chose that one. I think I just.
You needed a name to the face, really,
Yeah.
to get it
Yeah,
down.
I was like this, Captain Bravo, but you know, it's very cheesy, and you know, obviously it had something to do with his flight powers. You know, you get all those guys who fly the jets, Alpha Bravo Charlie. You know, and I had that stuck in my head. Some kind of like 1940s World War pilot or something. You know, Alpha Bravo Charlie, we're coming in hot. You know, I had that stuck in my head, and then I made him Scottish, and then you know, and there's this. Since the name changes, I made him Scottish and gave him the name change. There's a story behind why he's called MacLeod, and it's nothing to do with Highlander series. If any of you are wondering that, it's actually to do with the way a certain lady pronounced something. Basically, it's explained in the sequel, not part 3, not part 4, in the actual sequel. Book 2, because this is obviously book 1 with parts book 2 will.
Neil did. This is the story of one young man's journey into adulthood.
Yeah, he was in love once.
Never thought possible. A childhood dream becomes an unexplainable reality. In a world where
I explained a little bit about
superheroes
James Knight's name, didn't I? About the whole.
Witness the first
So
6
we've gone into
chapters
that
of
one.
a multi-layered story, complete with action,
Who else?
adventure,
Fast
and
Dash.
drama. A journey that will challenge the very
Speedster.
concept of the
Yeah,
word hero.
Flash was already taken.
Neil Miller's
Many other
World
names
Power,
of
Book 1,
Speed
City of the
Snatch were already
Guardians,
taken.
written by
We
Neil.
jump in there. Was it very annoying trying to find names which haven't been used? I know you were struggling with that, weren't you?
Every time I had a name, I would go onto like the Marvel or DC wiki pages and type it in to see if it appeared. And if it did, I'd go, yes! If it did, I'd be like, new name. Thankfully, you know, those names didn't come up. So, and obviously with Fast Dash, it's fast bracket dash. You know, I'm pretty sure there's not another. I did check. I did check with all the names. I'm pretty sure.
Hopefully they haven't been used.
No.
Unfortunately, grounds were well trodden where you're going at it.
This is it. You know, Marvel and DC have been creating characters for so long that there were a lot of names.
There's a lot of names, even side characters. That could be difficult.
Exactly. Yeah. I think I've done
I feel
a
sorry
fairly
for
good job. I think I've done a fairly good job creating
Yeah.
you know, the alter ego names of the characters. The first names were relatively. There's not much story behind the first names. Although Roger's full name, Roger Ackland, his name does stem from my stepfather who passed away. Being his first name, my stepfather's name was Roger Fitzpatrick. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. You know, so I wanted to honour his name in there somewhere. And this his second name, Ackland, is my mum's current partner's name. So, and in case my dad's watching this, there is a David in there somewhere. That's my dad's name, my real dad's name. There is a David in there. I'm not going to tell you where, but it's you'll know it when you see it.
I would like to guess.
You probably would be able to guess
I'm
quite
not
easily,
going to.
but
I'm not.
yes, Dad, there is a David in there, and he's very important.
Is it ironic, Renee? Your dad's a very important figure in your life, per se.
Father figures are an important aspect, as is for the book. So that's
I know.
as much as I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay, so you've left us with teasers, and more.
Download part 2.
I know there's going to be a sequel, but is this going to become a universe? Are there going to be branches?
Yes.
Ah.
Absolutely, there is going to be branches out. I have, in fact, already planned a spin-off. Revolving a certain James Maloney, as I've stated.
Of course.
As I've stated before, he is my favourite character to write for, and without giving anything away, his story at the end of the book, at the end of part 4, is left very much wide open, and he didn't have much to do in the Neil Miller sequel. But I wanted to keep him going as a character, so the idea is going to be is keep Neil Miller going in his own series of books with a lot of the supporting cast members that are built in from the first one, but then Outlaw is going to go off into his own adventure and take a few characters with him as well.
Will they progress kind of simultaneously, maybe interweave again?
Yeah, they'll come into contact with each other. I think it was going to be planned that Neil would appear in Outlaw's book as opposed to Outlaw appearing in Neil's book, just to confuse things. The idea behind Outlaws is going to be kind of an American road trip tale sort of thing. Although the book is primarily written in an English setting, James Knight is very much an American-based character. He's got the cowboy get-up. He's got that awesome, badass American attitude you can only see in southern somewhere. He's kind of, I know Wolverine's Canadian, but he's kind of like that kind of badass of so he's going to be going on this, but he's a biker anyway. It said in the first one that he's got a motorbike and he's going on a biker road trip with his crew.
Wow. We'll be interested to see where this goes.
He gets in lots of fights.
Oh, I bet he does. That's what we like to hear.
Oh yeah, he likes his fighting. Shadow boxing. That was a terrible. I'm so sorry.
So bad it was funny. Nicely done.
So one more question then, Spencer, please.
One more question then. You previously, in a past question, touched upon how annoying it can be with per se, mainstream publishers. How are you finding the self-published market?
The self-publishing market is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, with generalized publishing, there's so many things at fault at the moment. Going between agents and publishers, trying to get them to look at your work. Agents aren't interested unless you're solicited. Publishers aren't interested unless you've got an agent. So it's this constant back and forth between the two. And so when I discovered the Amazon Kindle marketplace, it was breathtaking, because it was this open door to allow indie publishers to go in and put their work out there, with a really easy to use system and a really sort of fluid company. With Amazon as well, it's a fantastic company. People know it, people know the brand. We've all used Amazon before, and with the Kindle apps and the devices they've created, the Kindle Fires and things like that, it's becoming a brilliant, like I say, door for indie publishers to come in now and use this device to get their name out there. And I think Amazon are doing a fantastic job, and I've got a lot of friends in forums and chat rooms that have used it or are just using it, and they're all really enjoying it as well, and it's just a really good name for you to get your name out there. I would definitely say self-publishing is the way to go for the moment. until the problems with the main publishing world are sorted out at the moment.
So one day if the market becomes, you know, more developed as your name does, one day do you want to get something more tangible, you know, something paper?
Absolutely, I'd love to be able to hold a book in my hand, you know, with my cover, my name on it, and that would be a dream come true.
Yeah, a bit of a crowning moment, maybe, if I call it that.
Absolutely, but for the time being, I'm happy to remain in the digital marketing because you can be so spread out. You know, you can get to so many different countries with a simple click of a button that it's wonderful. You know, Amazon are doing a fantastic service, so I'm happy to stay digital.
I bet you were tempted to click on every country you could.
Sticking low key for the moment, you know, UK, US, Canada, and a few other places.
Okay, now for a very quick sign off. Thank you very much for your time, Dan, and also thank you very much for your time to watch.
And don't forget to leave your comments in the comment section below, and also I've got some links for you guys to check out if you want to check my work out further. Facebook.com/DanSamsBooks, Facebook.com/Neil Miller's World of Power, Twitter DanSamsBooks, and DanSamsBooks@blogspot.com.co.uk, sorry, and all of those links will be in the description below as well. Thank you very much all of you for watching. It's been nice to actually be able to talk a lot about all of this, and so that you guys can actually get to know me a bit more, and hopefully you'll continue to enjoy my work. Thank you so much. This is literally all of the handwritten draft work. Just pages and pages of sloggingly handwritten work, and there's 3 of these.
Oh, brutal. Absolutely brutal.
I went through a lot. Thanks though, man. It's been awesome talking to you.
It's been awesome chatting to you as well. Nicely done. Thanks, Cristina, as well, for handling the camera.